We only briefly touched on the Munster game, but we're going to segue back into it because the incident we overlooked was the Cipriani red card, which did colour the game like hugely, because Munster were not impressing me in those opening exchanges, and Gloucester were.
It was super harsh on Gloucester.
Yeah.
For starters, this is the first point. It was super unfair on Gloucester that they were in. Like, I mean, they probably wouldn't have won, but they were in the game. They were doing things, and
they already suffered a yellow card that was. Admittedly, he caught with the forearm. I on first glance, I just thought it was a penalty because he was clearly in its side. But a lot of that was up for interpretation for a lot of the day as well.
Yeah,
there were a lot of things that vexed me about
the
that
ref in that game was very poor.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but he really did annoy me. His interpretation at the ruck time led to this just being like the high shots were like ridiculously abound. Like they were coming, but everyone was in from the side. The first man in the ruck was very often ignored. Hands in the ruck was even sometimes called, sometimes not. And it was very vexing to be a part of that anyway. But as far as the specific incident is concerned, the Cipriani one, it's not a red.
Well,
what everyone's been saying since is that this is the new interpretation and player safety, and it's like refs are being emphasised that anything touching the head or any shoulder touching the head is a direct red. But the law still states force.
Yeah,
force is still there.
Yeah, and what's even more concerning than the idea that the ref made a balls, like, we don't usually talk about refs because they have more important things, although this did affect the game. But it's not just that the ref made a balls of it; it's that he might not have. He might have been doing exactly what he was told, and what he was told seems to me to be just crazy. And this is what everyone is saying now. It's like, well, if you hit him, because first of all, just looking at the tackle, he wasn't tackling. He was standing, he was reversing.
Doing what every good meek number 10 should be doing, which is kind of pretending to be interested in the contact and then going, no, not for me.
Yeah, indeed.
Which is exactly what he did.
He held his ground for a moment. But what actually happened is Scannell was tackled, and then in his attempt to, and he's like, it's perfectly fine play, where he was going to wrestle himself through the tackle with the hope of getting his hands free.
Yeah, but duck his head and burrow through a little.
At best, get the hands free and get an offload away. At worst, wriggle your body into a position where you can manoeuvre it to get the ball back quick enough. And in that motion, he jerks his head forward, and as Cipriani kind of checks his run to be pretending into the tackle, he brings his head down into Cipriani's shoulder a bit, and then instantly Cipriani, after the glance, is gone. And they call it a red card because what the ruling seems to be is, what we do is we go to the TMO, we look on the slow-mo camera zoomed in, and we see if the shoulder, this bad part of your body apparently, touches the head, and then that's the question. That's what's a red card. That's like for
nonsense.
We obviously care about concussion, and we obviously but that's not preventing dangerous tackles. The question isn't, was the tackle dangerous, which is exactly what the question should be. And I understand that it's difficult to quantify in a way that all refs can interpret, but there is a way to do it that isn't shoulder hits head equals red. Because later in the game you saw a bad 12 trees tackle.
Minutes later, a 12 trees tackle that was much worse, by way of, is it dangerous? Much more so. Yeah. He's actually applying force and snagging him by the neck or face
and then Stephen Archer's clothesline at the end. Yeah. Because we've determined that a forearm isn't as dangerous as a shoulder. Him swinging in with his left forearm.
Big heavy dude as well.
Big heavy dude catching a guy right in the head, swinging him with a forearm, a shot that would drop you in the UFC, smacking a guy in the head. That's a yellow. But the glancing blow that didn't affect Scannell from the reversing Cipriani is a red, because the part of his body that we say is bad was touching the head. And that's just nonsense. It's gibberish. It makes it easier for the refs in terms of clarity, but it absolutely kills the game.
From the game.
And it doesn't make anyone safer.
Like, we're trying to make people tackle lower, so in a few years the tackle, or in a few months, they'll adjust and the tackles will be lower. No, they won't, by and large, because you're always gonna. It's so dynamic. The game's got so much quicker that there's big guys marking small guys all the time, and there's still going to be high tackles. So all it's going to be is just a card fest, which we've had already. We've had I was citing last week the Clermont game against Leon it wasn't Clermont, it was
Clermont playing Northampton,
or no, it was in the top tours, and at one point Clermont were down to 12 men. They had two yellow cards and a red card, and the other team had a yellow card at the same time, so there were 4 men off the pitch. We're just going to have more games like that instead of changing the way tackling's gone, because physiology is still the same. And the other side is, you do need to have a way of preventing offloads. You have to be able to tackle, like wrap your arms around the ball. You have to be able to go for the ball.
There has to be some recourse for defences in terms of preventing offloads,
because otherwise it's crazy. And it's basketball.
And the oh, excuse me, I lost my train of thought.
Well, I know I was saying that the other point is force. Force is still in the law. You're interpreting the same rule. The law hasn't changed, and its force is applied in all these in these collisions. It's like some interpretation has to be gone as to who's applying the force. In the Cipriani instance, Scannell was the forceful one, even though what the picture shows, which is why even like zooming it down, it shows yes where the contact is, and it also shows like super slowly, like Cipriani kind of going forward first before releasing. But these are all, the frame rate's so high, and it's like these are minute parts of a second, and that paints a picture that he's actually like hitting him, like a la Jerome Kano last week, which was a completely different. That is a red card. Yeah, where he's a big dude.
The point about this removing. Sorry to jump in here, but the point about removing these standing tackles, a good point to that. Like, this was a big talking point after the Jerome Kano red card. Was like, well, this is now the new way when you have standing tackles. I was like, no, Jerome Kano would have been red carded for that last year.
Yes,
it was with force, direct to the head. Very dangerous. Yeah. It was, and it was a fair red card.
See Sonny Bill Williams Lions.
The kind of standing tackles that are being removed now are like the Sexton ones, where he's going backwards in the contact, trying to hold up the ball, trying to form a maul. Those kind of tackles that they want to remove from the game. And I'm just saying, point me to an injury for that. Yeah, I've never seen one.
The choke tackle, we kind of credit Les Kiss with innovating with that, and that was around 2011, the first time anyone kind of saw it on a systematic level at test level, and like. In the interim, that's been adopted as a tactic by many other teams, and now since kind of nullified by a few teams as well. It's kind of gone into the archives of rugby, and it will come back again, and it surfaces in the odd game where it's effective, but a lot of times it's not these days because people are more chopped.
Well, you just get your two centres in terms of how the attack evolved around that variation was like, because for a while it was unstoppable. Yeah. But now what happens is, like, as soon as that contact's initiated and they push them up, we're like, okay, you want to maul? We'll maul you. We'll rip that ball back, and then we'll get 20 metres out of this play because you're trying to do your
little hold up thing instead of a hit.
That's when teams started to move away from it.
Exactly. But in all that time that it was a prevailing part of the game, I can't think of one injury, maybe a twisted ankle or something awkward, but not a concussion or any kind of HIA related stuff. That tackle's not dangerous, and it doesn't need to be fixed. But like, no regard has been, no thought is being given as to who's applying the force. People are complaining that the tackler has no responsibilities in the contact now. He can he'd be coaching,
not the ball carrier.
The ball carrier should be. It has no responsibility. He can go in and start headbutting shoulders now. It becomes a game of headbutt the shoulder, milk the red card.
I mean, you say it doesn't happen.
You're applying all the force to this collision. It's not a tackle. With Cipriani, he's reversing. He's not engaged in it. All the force that's going into that contact with the shoulder, admittedly, is coming from the ball carrier, and that's not dangerous.
But the other thing is that it can be. Like, this is the thing. It's like what World Rugby seems to be doing with these new, interpretations that they roll out every few months to do it is just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing if it sticks. Like, there's no thought being given to what the ramifications of the decisions you're making are being, and one of those ramifications, without a doubt, no matter how pure and nice you think rugby is, teams care about winning, and without a doubt there's going to be players who are just cop onto it and start going, alright, well, if I Bernard Jackman this, if I charge down with my head like a bullet, charging at the opposition, faced into the microphone, the microphone is the tackler here, and charge at a guy's shoulder, one of two things is going to happen. He's going to hit me in the head and get himself red carded, or he's going to have to move out of the way and do an awkward kind of around the whole tackle, and I'll get out of it and get my hands free. So the knock-on effect of this thing that doesn't actually prevent any injuries is to possibly cause more, because attacking is whatever, but defensive players being incentivized to not hit in the head, attacking players are incentivized to get their head hit, because any glancing blow with the shoulder is a red card. And I think, as much as you like to think people are sensible and don't want to injure themselves,
and that rugby is a very pure and dignified game,
people are going to do that.
People sportsmen are still going to look for every little percentage that you can get. And that's certainly one based on current interpretation. So I was very vexed. We were both very vexed watching that decision be given, because it's not good for the game. And anyone who's defending it by saying, it needs to happen so that the tackling gets lower, I call bullshit on that. I don't think the tackling is going to change fundamentally, because you're already coached. The textbook tackle is still to go around the hips and go down. And that still has always been a part of the game and will remain so. But it's like, there's certain, each one of these incidents is different, which is why people get annoyed by refereeing interpretations, but the refs are there to interpret things. That's exactly what they need to be doing.
Main point is that there's a reason why Nigel Owens is the best in business. It's because he doesn't cling to the law book as if it's like the Holy Grail, the Bible. It shouldn't be the Bible. We all know this game, and you have to give some reality to it, in the sense that you have to be able to just zone out of, like NFL last year, when what's a catch, what's not a catch. It's like, just zone out for a moment and actually think Did he catch it? I can see in fast motion he did catch it. And in the same way in a rugby game, you can just zone out, look at it at full pace, look at it from a broad-out view and be like, was that a dangerous tackle? Yeah, that was a dangerous tackle. Cipriani's one at the weekend wasn't.
It just wasn't. And there were a few worse examples later in the game to just highlight that point. So the game became about that more than anything else. And yes, a few tries were run in. It was good to see Carberry getting a few nice touches on the ball. The rest of the game went out. It was good to see Gloucester show a bit of heart and spirit.
They kept playing.
I was just so disappointed for Cipriani because I had expected him to kind of capitulate coming to Thomond Park, and that was not the performance he was delivering. His touch finders had been good, his control of the game had been assured enough. They were in a contest from the very beginning, and Munster were a little inaccurate as well and a bit slow at the beginning, so it was shaping up to be an interesting match, and then that was killed badly. And I feel bad for Cipriani because he's been having a good season. He looks like he's matured into a very
first left out of the England squad, obviously the arrest pre-season, then left out of the England squad, and now this, and it's just, it doesn't seem to be shaping up for him to play in the World Cup despite his potential.
Indeed, and he's always had that potential, but I do think he's matured into an excellent player. He's played in both hemispheres now. He's seen a lot, and a lot of like a trend that we were discussing off camera, off mic even before, was how number 10s, a lot of more senior number 10s are getting the nod these days, like quarterbacks in the NFL. Like there's a market for 10s who are in their 30s who are used to all of this and having seen all of it. Now there are counters to that. You can see the explosiveness of Bowden Barrett and all of the potential that youth can do. So
becoming a man with a head and shoulders as well, to be fair.
Yeah, well, this is what happens in those playmaking roles, is that the more you see, the more you're used to it, the more the pressure doesn't phase you, and you can keep clarity of thought and make the good decision. So like Cipriani's shaping up into a player who's doing that and was doing so in Thomond Park, and it was spoiled by a decision that we maintain on this the official Overlap Rugby podcast. Opinion on that is that is nonsense and not a red card.
And whether or not you blame the referee or World Rugby for that, it seems like the reaction from there's certainly been no statement on it or anything from World Rugby, and even the pundit reaction seems to be this is now a yellow card, this is now a red card even. So in that sense, it might not even been the ref who got it wrong, and that's not what we're saying. But we're saying it's not a bad decision maybe by the rules, but it's a bad decision for the game. Indeed, and a mistake from World Rugby to continue with this, because it's not going to achieve its goal, which is to make the game safer. It's just not going to do that.
No, sorry.